Welcome to the Alpha Paint tutorial tape. Today we're going to teach you about some of the more exciting details of the Alpha Paint program from Innovision Technology. Our goal is to inform rather than impress you today. The first 36-bit professional paintbox program for the video toaster, Alpha Paint sets a new standard of painting and image enhancement on the toaster with 36 bits of painting power. Of course, you've received your user's manual and you've gone through the tutorials and the 31 chapters of information there. We're going to cover the main points of the tutorials and give you some more advanced information so that you can, like with all of our products, create true network caliber video graphics on your Amiga toaster system. Alpha Paint also has, aside from real-time 24-bit painting directly on the video toaster's output display, an exclusive 12-bit alpha channel for anti-aliasing, unlimited compositing, and one-of-a-kind exciting video-on-video effects. Let's start from our Amiga Workbench screen. You've installed your Alpha Paint unit and you're running on either a 2000, 3000, or 4000 Amiga with Video Toaster 2.0 or above. A couple of things that you should know. First, make sure that you register your product so that we may communicate with you. Our 24-hour tech support fax number is included in your manual. You should also have your manual and your keyboard template handy so that during the course of this tape you can get the most out of them. Also, you'll notice on your Workbench screen, which is on your monitor right now, the graphics tablet driver up in the upper right-hand corner. If you have a graphics tablet, you'll need to run this driver on your Workbench screen before starting Alpha Paint. Basically, we've installed our Alpha Paint program, dragged the Alpha Paint icon out from its drawer to the Workbench screen, and selected the command Leave Out. The system we're currently running on is an Amiga 4000 with a Warp Engine 68040 in it and 16 megabytes of fast RAM. Alpha Paint requires 12 megabytes of fast RAM, 1 megabyte of chip RAM, and a hard drive with 10 megabytes free. As you install Disk 1 of the Alpha Paint program, an icon called Install Manager will appear next to the Install Alpha Paint icon. Alpha Paint, via its license agreement, is only authorized for one computer system at a time. You can utilize the Install Manager to install and deinstall the Alpha Paint program quickly and easily for transport onto another machine. So provided that you've ran your video toaster at least one time previously since you've booted up your computer, you can jump right into the Alpha Paint program by just clicking on the Alpha A icon on your Workbench screen. Once you've done that, the program will begin to load and it will tell you that it's switching over to the program monitor. That's one of the exciting things about Alpha Paint. Everything occurs on the video toaster's output screen. Your main menu, your 24-bit painting, your image compositing, your image enhancements, everything. To start painting, all you have to do is right-click and the main menu will disappear and you can just begin painting in full 24 bits in real time directly on the toaster's output display. Let's take a quick look around the main menu. First, let's talk about the color boxes. Alpha Paint has over 200 custom colors, multicolor gradients, black and white spreads, and patterns online for single-click recall at any time. As we go through them, you'll see some of the different patterns of the 200 that are included with the program. And of course, you can use any one of these color boxes to create and place your own gradient patterns or colors, and then save out those palettes when you quit the program. We'll talk a lot about that later. You'll notice some of the black and white boxes will not only create wonderful black and white gradients, but will also control transparency and the alpha channel. Let's talk about some of the toolboxes, which you'll see right beneath the color boxes on your main menu screen. First, there's the line drawing tools. Those of you who's used Toaster Paint or Deluxe Paint and some of the other Amiga paint packages will be readily familiar with all of these, so we're not going to spend too much time on them. There's the dotted freehand line drawing tool, the continuous freehand tool, the straight line tool, and the curve line tool. All of these drawing tools can be used with either pens or brushes. Then we have the geometric shape and fill menus. We have the rectangular shape, and you can see that that can either be filled or unfilled. We have the circle shape, the ellipse shape, the polygon shape, and the freehand shape. For example, you can take the circle tool and choose a color box, say yellow above it, and instantly create a circle filled with yellow. We also have on Bank 3, which you reach with the bank selector all the way to the right-hand side of the main menu, some gradients that we've created that look like 3D balls. You can just click on any one of those, the filled circle icon, and immediately create some 3D-looking balls utilizing the Redo Plus key. And those are your geometric shape icons. We also have selection tool icons like the Fill tool, which is for flood filling and filling in different shapes or similarly colored areas. We then have the Scissor Cut tool, and you'll notice a little dot at the end of the scissors that indicates that you will cut out brushes with or without their background. You can see that the square appears around the dot there at the end of the scissors, and that indicates that you're going to cut it out with the background. The Scissor tool can also be used with any of the different geometric shapes. And then we have the Magic Wand Selection tool, and its submenu that assists in different masking operations. And to the right of the selection tools are the utility icons. T is for the text and font menu. And then we have the Airbrush tool with different types of weights and fades for it. We'll talk some more about that a little bit later. And then we have the Eyedropper Color Selection tool with its color box that shows the selected color. Basically, when we choose the Eyedropper tool, a little box appears in the upper right-hand corner, as you see there, and it'll choose or show whatever color that the eyedropper is currently on. We also have the Grid tool, which is for precise measurement and placement of your different brushes, titles, and graphics. The Magnification tool, where you can magnify an image up to 800%, almost down to the pixel level, and also do underscan painting at 75% so that you can paint right out to the actual edge of the image itself. And then, of course, our Clear Screen tool. It basically instantaneously clears your screen so that you can be ready for your next operation. And those are basically your toolboxes from AlphaPaint. Below your toolboxes, you'll notice the menu gadgets. Pen, where you can edit the type of pen you're drawing with. Brush, where you can load, save, and add attributes to different brushes. Palette, where you can create and edit gradient patterns and custom colors. Buffers, where you can manipulate your image and alpha channels. And Play, where you can display your graphics over video and create exciting video-on-video effects. We'll cover all of those in a lot of detail later. One of the exciting things about AlphaPaint is its ease of use. Ease of use, in addition to true network caliber painting quality and powerful tools, makes AlphaPaint unbeatable. You'll find at various times during the application duplicate tools on the main menu as well as in the submenus, and these are provided for you for a convenience, and they make changing attributes a snap. In our active brush menu area, you can choose a pen or a brush. You can control its size via a slider. You can also control the feathering of your pen or brush quickly and easily to create soft edge effects. You can also do that interactively. That is, if you stamp down a brush and change its size and feathering afterwards, you can merely click on the Remake Brush gadget and it places those new attributes on the particular image for you. Next, beneath the Brush menu button, you'll notice the Mode Selector gadget. That leads you to its submenu of 16 different painting modes. You'll also see the Stencil menu gadget below, and that's used for masking operations. And below the mode area is the screen area with a gadget called TV Controls. And that'll lead you into a wonderful menu that offers image enhancement filters such as sharpness, brightness, hue, gamma correction, as well as variable special effects filters like embossing, colorizing, and oil painting. Below the TV controls is the BG button, which is used for specifying the background color. The Clear Tube button next to it is for quickly filling the entire screen with any one of the 200 online colors and gradients. Then we have the pressure area. AlphaPaint is one of the few paint programs today that gives you full support of pressure-sensitive drawing tablets. Notice that at the bottom of the area, you can click your tablet on or off to begin pressure-sensitive control. You can also, however, utilize the pressure area to do some real-time painting with your mouse and get pseudo-pressure-sensitive results. You merely set your weight and fade sliders to what kind of effect is desired, and then your pen draws with that effect. As you see here with the Freehand Line tool, you can fade in strokes from very light transparent levels to full solid values, and vice versa. We'll talk a lot more about that later. The display area all the way at the end of your main menu basically has your undo and redo buttons. Another very useful feature about AlphaPaint is its multiple undo and redo limited only by the memory on your particular platform. You can undo and redo as many different operations as you'd like by just merely clicking the undo key. For example, it'll undo as many strokes as you want to, or redo them. You also have a powerful gadget called Redo Plus. Redo Plus basically allows you to set all new attributes for whatever elements were created during the last drawing operation on your screen, and then paste those new attributes onto that element. You can, for example, change the fade and color of the last brush stroke, then hit Undo, then hit Redo Plus to redraw the image, and it will update it with its all new attributes for you. You'll also notice the Swap Buffer gadget, where you click on it and it allows you to go into one of your other buffers that you'll use for either compositing, stenciling, or masking. Then last but certainly not least, the File menu is where you load and save different kinds of full screen image files. The image loading requesters will give you the ability to go into any drive on your machine to access different files. Also notice that you can save out AlphaPaint images in a variety of different ways as frame stores. As a 16-bit frame store, which does not have an alpha channel and can be loaded by the toaster switcher, as an 18-bit frame store, which saves a 2-bit alpha channel with 4 levels of transparency, or as a 20-bit frame store, which saves a 4-bit alpha channel with 16 levels of variable transparency. Files can also be saved as IFF24s or as an IFF24 with alpha, or as the popular JPEG image format. Be aware that Toaster 2.0 to 3.5 software cannot load 18 or 20-bit frame stores from the switcher. And that's a brief overview of the main menu. Now, let's look at some of AlphaPaint's more unique features. First, let's take a look at the pen menu. One thing you should be aware of is the way AlphaPaint differentiates between a pen and a brush. A pen is an element that you draw with that is created internally by the program. A brush is a cutout portion of a larger image or a full image itself. In the pen menu, you click on the icon, wind up in the pen submenu, and you'll notice 3 types of pen tips: circular, square, and oval. You can set the size from 1 to 64, the aspect from 0 to 100%, the rotation from 0 to 360 degrees, the feathering for soft edges, the graphics visibility, which controls transparency for the entire brush, and the video visibility, which controls transparency over video. That is, you can control the transparency of a pen so that the pen stroke is translucent over the RGB graphic image or your video source. Aside from those aspects, you'll notice a helpful little preview window next to the sliders. As you change the size of your pen, the changes are reflected in the preview box. Explore these features on your own, and you'll find you can achieve many different effects in no time. Aside from here in the pen menu, back on the main menu, you also have size and feathering controls, which makes it easy. That way you can change the size and feathering of your pen without having to jump out of the main menu. And after all, time is money, and you want to be able to do that stuff quickly and easily. So, we've talked about adjusting the pen size and the feathering. You can also utilize the weight slider to adjust global pen transparency. That is, if you have an image like the deer in the background, you can adjust the weight under the pressure area on the main menu and consequently see whatever graphic you have behind your pen stroke, making those pen strokes semi-transparent, as you see here. For intensely detailed work, you can utilize the magnification mode. You can magnify from 75% up to 800%. The 75% underscan mode allows you to paint out to the actual edge of the image, as you see here, which is very difficult to do in a lot of other paint packages. You'll notice that your handy keyboard template has those hotkeys for you. Function key F6 is for underscan painting at 75% magnification. F7 is at 100%. F8 is at 200%. And you'll see a split screen here so that you can see the full image on the left-hand side and the image magnified on the right-hand side. F9 is for 400%. And F10 is at 800% magnification level, almost down to the pixel level for real accurate magnification painting. The split screen is very helpful, and you'll notice that when you're doing some very sensitive touch-up work that you can get right down into those difficult and hard to see and hard to get at areas and manipulate them while still seeing the image unmagnified on the left-hand side. You can even scroll around. Foremost among AlphaPaint's ability is the palette menu. That is, the ability to generate wonderful gradients, either radial, concentric, or linear spreads. Here you see the palette menu. You can switch between RGB or HSV values using the sliders, and you'll see the actual values along the sides there from 0 to 255. You'll notice too that the color changes automatically in the color sample box above as you move the sliders back and forth. In addition to that, AlphaPaint is unique in that it provides you with a crosshair on the color cube for quick and precise selection of color values. To the right of the color cube is a value slider, which basically controls the brightness content of the particular color that you've created. You can affect any one of the 200 online color boxes with new colors just by clicking on them so that they're highlighted with a white bounding box. Use your color sliders or the crosshair color picker on your color cube, and that color is instantly created and pasted into whatever color box you have selected and highlighted with your white bounding box. Now let's take a look at the spreads area, which is included in your palette menu. You'll notice that you have an on-off spread gadget. You click on it and it tells the program that you're about to create a new gradient spread. It will create it automatically in whatever color box you've highlighted in white, like we said earlier. Then you'll notice that we can also add many different colors to the spread, up to 20 different colors, by merely changing the color slider, choosing the Add button, and then clicking on the triangle spread position indicator area. A triangle will appear indicating the color that you've added to your gradient spread. So it's very quick and easy. You add some blue, some pink, and create a very nice quick gradient spread. You'll notice too that some of the other boxes and buttons within the spread mode menu. For example, you can add and delete colors, you can duplicate a color, you can rotate and invert spreads, and when you click on the space button, it will automatically space out your gradient evenly. The different colors that you've chosen for the spread will have equal spaces in between, and your gradient will look that much more uniform if that's the effect that you're looking for. The Hues button automatically creates rainbow spectrum gradients, while the Clear button erases your spread. Also notice that the AlphaPaint program offers the ability to rotate spreads in real time with a single click and create radial or concentric spreads with a single click. For example, in the linear spread mode, a slider controls the amount of rotation by degrees. You can move your linear spread around any way you want from 0 to 360 degrees. In addition, concentric and radial spreads can be offset from their center point. You choose a spread, then adjust its center point by clicking it off into a corner. Whichever corner and whichever way you want, just by merely clicking with your mouse. So as you can see, there are some very exciting possibilities for creating different kinds of gradient spreads and custom colors from within the palette menu, a very powerful area in the AlphaPaint program. Let's examine the geometric shape tools that we have, and in particular, let's go over the Redo Plus function, which is state-of-the-art in AlphaPaint. Let's create a regular box with the rectangle tool that's filled. We can easily change the color of the box by selecting a new gradient from another color bank, and then merely pressing Redo Plus. Redo Plus is exciting because it allows you to choose a new attribute or many new attributes for any particular graphic element that you've created, and then choose a new color, a new feathering value, or any new brush attribute, and then merely hit the Redo Plus key, and AlphaPaint will automatically paste the new attributes to the last image that was drawn. For example, we've just created a new gradient for the rectangular shape there, and not only can we automatically change the gradients, we can enhance it further by placing additional attributes onto it. We can go into the brush menu and set all new attributes such as beveling, feathering, or soft cast shadows, and then by selecting Redo Plus, those new attributes will automatically be applied as the image is redrawn with all new attributes. Another very helpful feature of AlphaPaint is the F1 panic key. Basically, that resets all of your settings that you've just changed back to your defaults. You merely hit F1 and it resets your pen size to 12 pixels and selects the default white color in bank number 1 without affecting the image in the work buffer, and you're ready to start all over again. Let's clear the screen and go into the brush menu. Now let's take a look at the brush tutorial and the brush menu. You can totally control every aspect of the brush from this one menu. First, let's load a brush. Notice that once we hit the Load Brush button, a file requester comes up and you can load any kind of brush you want. Framestore with or without alpha, IFF with or without alpha, or a JPEG image. For discussion's sake, let's load the plain white logo brush. We've double-clicked on that, hit OK, and wound up back in the brush menu. Consequently, you can now affect the different attributes of your brush. You have control of the face attribute, the outline attribute, shadow, and cast or glow. We've loaded the logo brush. Now we'll put a new texture map on it, the aptexture.iff. We'll select new texture, and another requester comes up for us to choose the aptexture.iff image. Double-clicking the image will automatically tell the program to replace all of the color in our logo image with the current image. Now we're going to put an outline on it, and let's use a new color, blue. And let's also create a nice glow around the background. Let's use glow and choose white, and it'll have a white glow. Cast visibility at 70%, feather is at 16, and hit OK. And we've established our brush attributes, and it's giving you a black and white outline representation of the brush. Once it's completed its processing, you'll notice the status bar indicator in the upper left-hand corner of the screen and your weight pointer there as it does the various processing functions. Once that's completed, we'll hit return, and this will stamp the brush down in the center of the screen, and it'll now be filled with a new texture. But not only has it filled the inside of the logo, it's filled the outside boundaries, and we didn't want it to do that. To correct this, we'll go back to the brush menu and choose Black Trim On. You'll notice it's off there. We'll turn it on. Black Trim does exactly what the name implies. It trims out all of the black that's around the particular logo item and doesn't accept any zero value of black. We've turned it back on, hit OK, and now the image, once it's rendered, the logo is going to appear in its correct form with that wonderful texture on the inside of it and the white glow, white cast glow on the outside. As I said before, anytime you're moving around large 24-bit images, it's very mathematically and computer memory intensive. So depending on the complexity of the brush or the image that you're loading, some will take longer than others. Let's clear the screen, and we'll stamp that brush down in the center of the screen, and notice that it's filled with our new texture. We've established a wonderful outline in blue, and we've established a cast glow in white. You can do many creative and effective treatments to brushes using the powerful brush menu within AlphaPaint. Let's take a look at placing this brush we've just created into a 3D type perspective. We'll go back to the brush menu, and notice here in the upper center of the brush menu we have a 3D perspective rotation area. It can be turned on or off, and we can control the Z rotation from 0 to 360 degrees just by clicking on the gadget and typing in numbers from our keyboard. We can go into and also control the 3D perspective by manually typing in X, Y, and Z rotational values inside the 3D perspective submenu. You can also set the position of X, Y, and Z coordinates there as well. And then also notice down in the lower left-hand corner the focal lengths feature. You can adjust the focal lengths from 0 up to 10 to give you a different kind of feel for the perspective view of your particular image, just like you had with a still camera. You can also reset your defaults. Clicking on the defaults button will bring you right back to your original rotational levels, just like the F1 key does for the drawing tools. Also in the lower right-hand corner, notice zoom at 100%. You can also zoom out to 50%, making an image half as big, or zoom into over 100% to enlarge an image. But for now, let's go back to the brush menu. Notice how the rotational menu that you can also change the perspective graphically by clicking on Set Interactively. Let's show you that real quickly. Basically, when you click on Set Interactively, as you see here, an XYZ value box appears in the upper right-hand corner and indicates the current degree values of X, Y, and Z. You can use your numeric keypad on your keyboard, and you can move that image around with a wireframe rendering outline to give you a feel for how that brush will look after it's rotated and manipulated. You do that just by merely clicking on your holding down your arrow keys. And once done, you can left mouse button, hit that, and it'll stamp the new rotated brush down on the screen with the return key. And then you see the status bar indicating that the 3D perspective transformation is occurring. That's happening there in the upper left-hand corner. That's basically calculating the data from the rotational values that you put in there and also the different attribute areas. And then the brush is automatically planted down, and then we have our new current brush. You can get some really cool 3D perspective effects of any element that you want utilizing this creative tool. Go crazy and check it out. Now let's say the brush is too big and we may need to make it a little smaller. We can resize it from the scaling area in the brush menu. We go into the brush menu and find the scaling area in the bottom center of the screen. Notice that you can control the size of an entire image simply by typing in a percentage value there on the size gadget. Say I want this to be only 50% of its size. You can also indicate the width and height of a particular element individually, or you can scale things interactively in near real time as well. For the sake of this illustration, let's say that we just want to make our brush 50% of its original size. We've established that value, we've hit OK. Okay, and now the program creates the brush at 50% of its size with automatic anti-aliasing. And you'll notice too, when you resize an image that you've originally brought into AlphaPaint, once it's resized and that automatic anti-aliasing is added to it, it really makes those images look even better than before. So as you can see, we've established a new brush and sized it, and now it's only 50% of what it used to be. A very handy feature, being able to scale different brushes that you can bring in or create in the program and then utilize the 3D perspective rotation function while maintaining the correct aspect ratio. Just another professional feature in AlphaPaint. For this next section, basically we've cleared our screen and we've hit F1 to reset all of our drawing tools and attributes back to the defaults. AlphaPaint's sophisticated text tools are reached by clicking on the T icon on the main menu. You'll notice that Alpha supports Toaster, Chroma, and PostScript fonts. We can click on the PostScript button, and then the PostScript menu comes up and we can choose any kind of PostScript font that is listed. Let's say we choose Clarendon. And the name appears then in the font name window below, and we can adjust the height and weight. We can italicize any type of element that we choose with a forward or backward slant. We can also control the character spacing, and we can also control the Z rotation, all with broadcast quality resolution. Let's type AlphaPaint tutorial tape. That'll be good. We type it out and it appears in the text box below, and then we can hit preview to immediately see exactly how that's going to look once we paste it down on the program output screen. It's nice because it really gives you kind of a feel for how that title or font is going to look once you're done with it. The baseline type section is divided into two areas, the line, as you see there, and circle. In the line area, you can center justify a text line, right or left justify it, and also control the line spacing between each line. To the right of that, the circle area contains the ability to wrap text around in a circle or arc, which is very exciting. If you've ever tried to do a circular title, you know how really difficult it can be. Basically, you can choose the circle gadget and adjust your different radiuses from 20 to 400, or whatever size of circle or arc that you desire. It'll give you a nice little preview of how that circle title will look. And just click on preview there, and there you see it. We've selected 120 there. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's say 160. We'll change that to 160, hit preview again, and see it. As you can see, it spaces it out a little bit better. We'll hit OK, and you'll notice it will come right into the brush menu. Because text is rendered as a brush, any attribute can be applied and manipulated from within the brush menu. You'll notice how to adjust the different brush attributes of the text brush momentarily. We'll show you that. Notice in the source area that you can load a brush that you've previously saved out. You can load a text brush, and you can save text or brushes you've cut from other images. Again, you'll notice the same 3D perspective rotation and scaling submenu that we used earlier, and the brush alpha area, which controls the graphics and video alpha channels, and the other attributes that are represented. For now, we've generated our AlphaPaint tutorial circular text title, and we're going to adjust the face, shadow, and cast or glow attributes. First, let's go into the face submenu. You'll notice we can control the beveling, the feathering for soft edges, the face visibility, or video visibility for transparency, all with the handy sliders. We can also make this face option either on or off. We can fill the face of a font with color, or with an IFF texture, or even a live video source. When you click on it, a file requester box will come up, and you can choose any kind of texture you want and paste that into your title. And those textures can be frame stores, IFFs, or IFF24s, or JPEG images. The name of the image source appears in the title box beneath, but for the sake of our illustration, let's just choose a gradient color spread. We'll choose a spread box, and we'll see a white bounding box appear around it. Now let's soften the edges a bit of the text. Let's soften those edges by changing the feather valuing to, let's say, 6. Then notice that there's a little palette button on the lower right-hand corner. You click on it, and that'll bring you into the palette menu so that you can custom create different colors and spreads. Now, as a review, let's see. We've set our feathering to soften out the text edges, and our color spread, and that'll appear inside the text. Now let's hit OK. And notice we're right back to the brush menu to set some of the other different attributes for the title as well. Now let's set the shadow attribute. We'll go into the shadow submenu, and notice that you can enable that gadget so that the shadow option is either on or off. You can also control the shadow direction just by merely clicking on that box there, and you'll notice that the shadow direction goes in any direction that you want. You can also create wonderful cast shadows by controlling your shadow depth from 0 up to 64, and basically we're going to set ours though at just 16. You can also control the visibility of the shadow, that is, what amount of graphic will show through your shadow. And you can also select and control the video visibility, that is to say how much of the video image behind your shadow that you'd like displayed. For the sake of this illustration, we've chosen 75% for shadow visibility and 75% for video visibility. Hit OK. Now we've selected all of our text attributes, and let's also put a glow on it. One of my favorites. You can see the enable gadget is either on or off. You can set the cast color scheme to black, glow, or neon. Just as in the shadow submenu, you can control your cast direction by merely clicking on the arrow there in the box. For this illustration, let's click the glow effect, and it asks for a color selection. We'll choose the radial rainbow spread right above the glow gadget there. And now you can control the cast depth or the glow. We want the depth to be about, let's say, 24. And feathering, we're going to leave at 16. And let's leave the cast and video visibility at 71 and hit OK. Now we've chosen all the attributes for our text brush. We hit OK from the brush menu to begin the processing. And you'll notice the handy status bar will appear in the upper left-hand corner, displaying the status of each of the different attributes as they render. The time pointer indicates that the program is busy doing its thing. And the program is creating a radial spread, cast glow, the feather cast, the shadow, and the linear spread. Lots of information being processed there, and of course the faster your accelerator, the faster these operations will occur. The status bar will disappear to let you know that the rendering has been completed, and as they say, you can never have too much memory or hard drive space. And then basically once all the processing is done, we're going to wind up back in the main menu with a white outline of the text brush. We then just hit the return key, and it'll immediately stamp that brush down in the center of your screen. A gorgeous title treatment there. And that's just some of the powerful text tools available in AlphaPaint. Experiment and enjoy. Now let's move to the drawing modes. The drawing modes of AlphaPaint are pretty phenomenal. As you click on the mode gadget on the main menu, you'll wind up in the mode menu beneath it. The left side of the menu displays painting type drawing and processing modes, while the right side handles image enhancement filters and modes. Notice here that you have several different options: normal mode, rub through mode, the erase mode. You can draw with hues, you can colorize, you can use negative, watercolor, or mix. And notice too that you have a weight slider just like that on the main menu. The weight slider controls the transparency of your particular drawing mode. and also the amount of paint that reaches the screen. The weight control is also on the main menu for ease of use, as we discussed earlier, so that you don't have to go into a sub-menu every time you want to change the weight or fade of a brush stroke. Very handy when you're in a hurry. Here in the Mode sub-menu, you control the amounts of lighten, darken, smooth, sharpening, gamma correction, contrast, or oil paint effects and their values. Another exciting thing about AlphaPaint is its variable filters. Variable filters, very important. Unlike other paint programs where something is either oil painted or not, lightened or not, either this or that, AlphaPaint allows you to change the amount of the filter application in addition to the weight. In AlphaPaint, you're in control. You have variable filters to lighten or darken, to oil paint or not. An image can just be oil painted a little bit or a whole lot. Like I say, you have control. For this drawing mode, we'll show you how to rub through from one image to another. AlphaPaint has several different buffers. We've chosen the rub through mode from our mode menu. Now let's load an image from the load picture requester, and let's load one of our tutorial images, say the runners.iff. That's included with your tutorial images there. That's courtesy of Photodisk. Notice that the image will come up very quickly, and then we'll click on our swap gadget in the display area, and this exchanges the images in the work and swap buffers. Now the swap buffer is another 24-bit buffer where the image can be resident, and that allows us to rub through from one image to another with a variety of different brush tip styles. In this case, we're going to keep the work buffer at the default black, turn on onion skin by going into the mode menu options area, and then we'll turn that on. We'll say OK. And notice as I rub through my swap buffer, its image is appearing on the work buffer. You can see that it's kind of an outline there, but as we rub through, you can see the full image will come up to 100% value. Rubbing through from one image to another is a very effective feature, the rub through mode of AlphaPaint. Now the smeared drawing mode is another area that's very exciting, and you can achieve some really unique effects with it. We don't have to go into the mode menu in order to select these elements. We can access the modes quicker by using the hotkeys and AlphaPaint's keyboard template. You should learn those hotkeys, and they are real time savers. AlphaPaint's hotkeys subscribe to the most commonly used functions out there, and also subscribes to the most of the hotkeys that are being used from the different programs. Visible on your keyboard template, you can set the normal mode, rub through, hue, smear by merely hitting Shift F1, F2, F3, etc. from your keyboard template. Now we're going to use the smear mode. Use any size brush that you want, and now we'll basically just smear out that image of the runner, smear out the color into the black area, etc. As we go there and using any kind of brush tip that you want. It kind of gives him the illusion of motion. You can use a smaller brush, a larger, whatever feathering you want, to smear out whatever color or image and get some very interesting and intriguing effects. To touch up a photograph, you can use any of the modes on the right side of the modes menu. Let's choose lighten, for example. You'll notice that when we draw with lighten, the brush strokes that we use are constant throughout the stroke. That is to say, as we stroke along there, all of that value is even. And when we paint on the lighten mode, it lightens the image naturally. It is possible that for these different modes, you can draw with increasing intensity by using the airbrush tool. We'll just click on the airbrush, and notice that the lighten effect is now a little bit more subtle. The airbrush becomes very useful for applying these different types of effects. Below the modes is the options area. The options area allows you to turn on the onion skin to partially view the image in the swap buffer. Coordinates will display the cursor position in pixels in the lower right-hand corner. The anti-alias button will turn on and off the automatic anti-aliasing feature. And the tablet area will control whether the stylist from your graphics tablet is drawing with the full screen or the program's normal mode of drawing in the center of the tablet. Some very exciting features in AlphaPaint. The stencil mode is another area where AlphaPaint excels. Aside from the sub-menu, you can toggle the stencil on, off, or add or subtract a stencil from the main menu. Select Add to add areas that you want to paint. Select Sub to protect areas that will not be painted. Let's take a look at the stencil. Alpha Paint, like most paint programs today, offers the professional feature of a stencil. Basically, a stencil is just that. It's a way to protect one part of an image while painting on another. We've loaded up an image, beautiful image there of Lake Powell near Utah, and now we'll use the stencil to mask areas of it. We will choose our magic wand tool, and notice that when we do that, the stencil goes on. You'll see that light blue onion skin type of mask that goes over your entire image. Yet it still allows you to see your image, so you can see it. At this point, it's basically protecting everything. The image is now ready to have any portion of the screen that's unprotected selected by the magic wand. We're going to click on the blue part of the sky so we can paint on it. We did that. Now we can select and turn our stencil on. Notice that while you're in add or subtract mode, that you can use any of the drawing tools or the geometric shape tools. The blue onion skin now only appears in the lower part of the image, on the mountains, let's say. While painting, the only parts of the image that will be affected are the areas that do not have the blue onion skin protection. And that's just one of the professional things that you can do with the stencil feature of in Alpha Paint. But also notice that in the buffer menu, you have a few different tools for manipulating the buffers. You can copy one buffer to another, you can clear it, invert it, or load just one image, stencil, or video alpha channel. In buffers, you have your work buffer, your stencil buffer, or your video alpha channel, your video buffer. The work buffer is the image that you're currently working on. Your stencil buffer is the protective mask that you've created. The video buffer is your video alpha channel, and that controls your video transparency. Now let's invert the stencil. Instead of being able to paint on the area of the sky that we've selected, now we can paint on the opposite areas. And this function is also available from the stencil submenu for ease of use. Let's go to the stencil menu. You can see here more tools for manipulating the stencil buffer. To see the entire image while still preserving the stencil, we can turn the stencil onion skin off. The blue onion skin will then be erased from the screen, as you see here. But as you can see, the stencil areas are still very active. And this feature is immensely helpful in editing different images. You can achieve a lot of very creative effects. And that's one of the valuable things about Alpha Paint, the professional stencil mode of drawing and creating images. One of the most popular features of Alpha Paint is the TV controls menu. And that's exactly what the name implies. It provides you with a color and image enhancement control panel that thoroughly affects the NTSC output image. Here's the TV controls menu. Unlike any other application that's out there today, Alpha Paint is really created for the videographer, and especially for the toaster videographer. In Alpha Paint, all of your filters can be previewed and applied simultaneously instead of one at a time as in other programs. And the most exciting thing is that you can, without having to go out to your main menu and stamp something down in order to see how it looks, as in other paint applications, you just click on the preview button at the bottom of the screen and it will immediately give you feedback as to how that image is going to look once it's processed with your different filter values. And notice that you can also control the clarity of an image by increasing its apparent resolution by utilizing the sharpening tool. Tint, red, green, and blue controls also give you total control over the color in an image. Aside from these basic TV controls, you'll also notice that there are some variable special effects filters. In particular, Emboss, which can be on or off, and it controls not only whether an image is embossed or not, like other applications, but you also have total control of the emboss with depth control, direction control, and or softness control. And of course, you can preview these effects and see exactly how they will look before you actually paste them down on the main menu screen. And that way you can really get creative and select some unique effects. Aside from the variable filters within Alpha Paint is the configurability of those filters, as we said earlier. The idea here is that an image filter doesn't have to be either on or off, that you can control it and affect an image a little bit at a time, having it partially affected or globally affected. Posterization, mosaic, and oil paint filters are also provided, and those are also variable. Of course, the default button resets those filters all the way back to your defaults, just like F1. Now let's take this image and emboss it a little bit, and let's see how it's going to look on preview. And we do a little bit of things with the color filter and the emboss filter, and you see the progress indicator in the upper left-hand corner. And now that basically pasted out on the main menu screen, and we've hit the OK button, and there it's pasted out on our main menu screen. And you can automatically apply any filter that you like from the TV controls menu. Notice that you can even use the TV controls menu in conjunction with the stencil, as you see here. A very powerful feature within AlphaPaint, the TV controls menu. Among AlphaPaint's 36 bits of painting power is an exclusive 12-bit Alpha channel. No other paint package out there has the power, ease of use, and flexibility of AlphaPaint's Alpha channel. One of the most advanced features and areas of AlphaPaint is the graphics and video Alpha channel. Both Alpha channels are used for the program's transparency, blending, and compositing features over the 24-bit image buffer and over live video. The main concept behind the use of the Alpha channels is that all white areas are 100% visible and all black areas are 0% visible. All of the grayscales in between represents the different levels of variable transparency. Let's try some AlphaPaint brush transparency controls and see what we can come up with. Now you see here, we're going to clear the main menu, go into the brush menu, and now we'll load up any brush from the brush menu to apply some transparency to. Once we do that, we'll have a white outline of our brush, and then we can just basically stamp that down on the screen at 100% visibility. We can then automatically change the global visibility of the brush by changing the weight in the pressure area of the main menu. We pick a value of about 50% in the weight slider area, and then we drop the main menu and stamp down the brush. And the brush menu contains the area labeled Brush Alpha. This is where you can also manually control the graphics and video Alpha channels for a brush. We'll click on the brush menu, then click on graphics, and this brings us into the Brush Alpha submenu. As we've said before, white on an Alpha channel is solid and black is transparent. In AlphaPaint, you can use any of the black and white gradient spreads to control transparency. Let's left click on the third one from the right and then click OK. We'll click OK again in the brush menu to accept the settings. We drop the main menu, and then we can stamp down our brush. And since this spread is white on top and black on the bottom, the brush is visible on top and transparent on the bottom. There is, however, an easier way to select graphics Alpha channels for a brush. Merely by holding down the Control key and clicking on any of the black and white or white to black gradients, you can automatically establish transparency via the graphics Alpha channel. Let's Control click on the fourth gradient from the right. Let's click on Remake Brush. You see it's highlighted there. And then stamp that brush down. Since the spread is white on the left and black on the right, it appears visible on the left and transparent on the right. Now you can see that one can achieve a wide variety of eye-catching effects by utilizing variable transparency via AlphaPaint's Alpha channel. And these are just some of the basic features of the graphic Alpha channel. Explore and experiment on your own, and you'll soon discover many exciting and effective uses of the Alpha channel in AlphaPaint. Another area where AlphaPaint excels is the video playback menu. AlphaPaint provides you with the ability to key graphics over any live video source with 16 levels of variable transparency and also do exciting video-on-video effects. Basically, we've assured ourselves that we have a time-based corrected video source and that it's connected to video input 1 of our video toaster with a second video source connected to our second toaster input. Here we are in our play menu. Basically, we hit the play gadget on the main menu screen, and now we've wound up in the play submenu. As you see here, we have a number of play options. In the overlay row of buttons, you can choose the graphics that you've created with the program or video inputs 1 through 4, which correspond to video toaster inputs 1 through 4. And then you can also display your background source, and that can be either graphics that you've created with the AlphaPaint program or video inputs 1 through 4. In the transition row of buttons, you can declare how this graphic or video element will be transitioned on and off the screen, either cut or fade. You'll be able to do either of these transitions as many times as desired, and your graphics through Alpha Paint's superior anti-aliasing will knock your eyes out. We'll go to the brush menu or hit F3 and click load, and we'll toggle through and load a brush. We'll wind up back in the brush menu, and then from the face gadget in the attribute submenu, we'll select a linear gradient color box. You can see the white bounding box as we select it right above the color scheme. Now let's choose that, and then let's adjust the video visibility to 50% here in the submenu. Let's click OK. And then let's also look at the outline. And now let's click on the outline, the purple box, and let's leave that at 100%. And also let's make sure that our outline is established to a value of about 12. And we've clicked OK, and then we'll generate the brush. Once the brush is generated, we're just going to hit the return key again, which will stamp that brush down in the center of the screen. You'll see the status bar indicating the different processes that it's going through there. Creating the linear spread, and then you'll see a beautiful little logo. You know, with Alpha Paint, you can take a basic shape and instantly create many different kinds of treatments. So, we've established our brush, and we've stamped it down in the center of the screen. Now we can click the play gadget in the main menu to enter the playing menu, making certain that our video inputs are connected via our TBC to video input 1 and 2 of the toaster. And basically, let's use the default setting of graphics over video 1 in the play menu. We'll left click on the play gadget, and live video from video input 1 is now displayed on our screen. We can then fade these graphics that we've created on and off over our live video source by merely left clicking. And you can do that on and off as many times as needed. Notice too how the brush is actually 50% visible over live video. That is to say, in the face of the particular brush, you can see video playing back through it, whereas on the outline, you cannot. And then, of course, we can exit the play menu anytime that we want by merely hitting the escape key. We can also utilize color boxes to generate brush video alpha channels. Let's press the original brush key, the hotkey is F4, and that will retrieve our original brush. And let's also clear the screen. We're going to basically wait for that to happen and clear the screen. Another nice thing about Alpha Paint is that no additional utilities, programs, or chip RAM is required, basically just a toaster. Now here's our original brush. We've hit F4 to retrieve it. Now let's establish a global brush video alpha channel transparency blending pattern. Boy, that's a mouthful. This can be done by clicking and getting into the brush alpha area in the brush menu. But we're going to be using the hotkeys because they're a lot simpler. Basically, hold down the Alt key while you left click any of the white to black or black to white gradient spread color boxes. For this illustration, let's just use the third one from the right. Now you'll see that the remake brush icon is highlighted in the lower left hand corner of the screen. We'll hit that to remake the brush, right click, and then press return to stamp down the brush in the center of the screen. Once our processes have taken place and the status bar is cleared, and basically you'll see that nothing actually happened. And that's because we didn't use the play function key, which is F2, to enter the play mode. We do that, and once done, then you can left click and bring your graphics on and off the screen, as you can see here. Basically, we're just fading that graphic on and off the screen as many times as we want with just a click. And of course, you can also do a cut. It's a very powerful capability and has enormous creative potential, the playing graphics over live video in Alpha Paint. Another one of the exciting features of Alpha Paint in a lot of videographers' mind is playing video on video. That is, utilizing two live video sources. One main live video source with a second video source superimposed or feathered in with a variety of brushstrokes or graphic shapes over any area of the screen that you'd like, all with 16 levels of variable transparency. Now we have two live video sources connected to the toaster. We've basically entered the play mode. We left click on video 2, our second video source, in the overlay mode, and then we left click video 1 in the background mode. Left click play, and then we enter the play mode, which displays video 1. And then simply by left clicking, you display the second video source over the first. Your second input, number 2, will appear inside the logo, and then it can fade to your video source number 1. By continuously left-clicking, you can fade the video on and off, one source over another, or vice versa. And there you have the very powerful video on video feature from the Play menu in AlphaPaint. AlphaPaint also has complete support of pressure-sensitive drawing tablets, which are available at competitive prices directly from Innovision Technology. For those of you who don't have a pressure-sensitive tablet, as we've discussed earlier, your mouse can be utilized to paint with and achieve pseudo-pressure-sensitive effects. Artists say it's a little bit like painting with a brick, but you certainly can use the weight and fade sliders in the pressure area of the main menu to give you pseudo-pressure-sensitive effects. We've established our pressure-sensitive tablet driver in the beginning of the tape, so now we can utilize it and ensure that the tablet gadget at the bottom of the main menu is selected to on. Now notice here that depending on how much pressure we put on our cordless pen, it dictates how much paint is going to wind up on our electronic canvas. That is, the harder we press, the more visible our paint stroke or effect is going to appear. It's truly an artist's interactive tool that totally simulates drawing with natural media. The harder you press, the more intense the particular painting mode will be over the image. The fade function is another thing that's artistically effective. Basically, using a stylus, you can establish a value of up to 255 on the fade slider, and as you paint, that image or stroke becomes more and more visible, and or vice versa. That is, going from 100% visible to almost totally invisible, or the opposite way, where it fades in instead of fading out. It's a great painting tool to experiment with the pressure-sensitive drawing features of AlphaPaint. We hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial tape, the first of many that we have planned. We will have another tutorial tape coming out in the very near future with even more advanced effects than we've covered here. Make sure that you're a registered AlphaPaint user so that you can communicate with us and that we can communicate with you and let you know about program updates, discounts, add-on features, utilities, and other exciting things. Thank you very much for watching. Innovision Technology looks forward to the continued support of its users around the world and to creating more exciting, cost-effective, and creative tools for you to use both now and in the future. Keep toasting, and thanks again.